I'm going to show some cards, but first I also want to kind of come clean on a couple of things here. And that is that, you know, I mean, I showed Gavin Lux cards when I was in the persona of Dougie K. You might actually think that I am totally making fun of somebody else. But I think there's a hint of making fun of myself there. Because I did say like, ooh, I gotta scoop this guy up. I did not make any substantial investments in him. And if you look at like the most graded cards from PSA, I think Gavin Lux is in the top 10, which is historically, I think, kind of like going to be like a bit of a joke in the, what they call, maybe they call the junk slab era. Reflecting on the period of time where maybe it's easiest to make fun of the collector for collecting modern cards is maybe during COVID in 2020, where, you know, you could easily be making fun of me there. And I think I make fun of it in making fun of myself. I think, you know, not to repeat myself. So as we're looking at these cards, I have a bit of an accidental omission here. I did not get out any Miguel Cabrera cards, and I do want to talk about him real quick, in that he is kind of like the classic big-time Hall of Famer, in that he had, you know, he's had a lot of led the leagues in home runs, RBIs, and batting average. He surpassed big-time Hall of Famer milestones like 500 home runs, 3,000 hits. He has a career batting average over 300, which I think, you know, conventionally would have made him, you know, a big-time Hall of Famer. By the standards of WAR, which might be a little controversial, but I still think is meaningful. I think it just needs to be factored into the whole equation. He's lower than you'd think. He's under 70. But I think he deserves his due here. I will go to the guy who already has the career that's sealed, much like Miguel Cabrera, but at a higher level. And that is Albert Pujols. So here is what I'm considering to be a relatively modern card, even though it's over 20 years old. I mean, what a crazy career he's just had, right? I mean, over 700 home runs. I mean, right there, it's pretty crazy. I was comparing his stats to Hank Aaron, and I found that Hank Aaron it fares better in that comparison, no doubt. But I feel like it's a comparison worth making, and just saying that alone, I think says a ton about Albert Pujols. So yeah, really big deal player, generational talent, one of those guys who should just be like a unanimous first round Hall of Famer vote. And then we have Mike Trout, who is really kind of unlike any other player. He is putting up some insane numbers all across the board. You know, when I talk about Albert Pujols and the comparisons to Hank Aaron, I feel like, you know, it's really hard to make any modern comparisons to Mike Trout, other than, you know, maybe players who had their heydays in the 50s and 60s. Mickey Mantle may be a good comp. I'm not saying that maybe in the same way that, you know, Albert Pujols and Hank Aaron are good comps, because he has the advanced analytics that really no player today has. That is just like, you know, like he has the OPS plus of over 1,000. He, you know, he has a WAR of around 80 already, and he's like 30. He's put up the home run numbers, the batting average numbers. He's just done everything. He's looking to be the best offensive player of his generation, of this millennium so far. So, you know, he can't retire today to seal the deal on that. And then we have, I think I'll use him to represent sort of like the the guys who are exciting Hall of Famer caliber players, who, you know, I think will be in the Hall of Fame. I'll go through some more of his cards. He's seems well on his way. He's a guy who just maybe can't retire today, whereas Mike Trout could retire today. This is a really cool card I just picked up, actually. And I'll also, you know, have some other comparables here with Freddie Freeman, Jose Altuve, Manny Machado. These are guys who seem like, oh, and Bryce Harper. These are guys who all, you know, at varying rates seem like they, you know, they are or may be on their way to the Hall of Fame. And they're what I would consider to be very good caliber Hall of Famer talent. But maybe not like the top tier. And the guy who most excites me in all of baseball, is definitely the one, the only Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. He was the reason why I started collecting again in 2018. Like a once-in-a-lifetime guy, or, you know, maybe even a one and only kind of guy. You know, you can compare him to Babe Ruth, but it's not even really a fair comparison, because Babe Ruth had his pitching, Babe Ruth's pitching days were largely in the dead ball era, and Babe Ruth's hitting days were largely after the dead ball era. So it sort of worked out perfectly for Babe Ruth. Shohei is just doing it all at once. And no one has ever done that before. And then this is kind of like my modern gem of all cards, which is his Rookie Cup out of 50 Chrome. All right, guys, thank you for watching this. I just one more thing in closing. You should expect this to be a joke, but it's not going to be. Is that, you know, another thing about some modern cards is they're iconic. And I think that, like, this is an example of, this is an iconic card. This is, you know, I think of, like, the Mike Trout flagship rookie, the Clayton Kershaw 2008 rookie. These are just some images that are, like, already seared into our brains, and they're modern cards. And they'll be important in the hobby, I think. And just to not disappoint, you know, the chicken again. It's always been a dream, nothing less. Shout me out if you're a chicken clubby.